Chapter 1 You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 1 The Passionate Betrayal in the Toilet. Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation Jiangcheng, Winter. As night fell, the city lights lit up, and the snow fell in disorder. The streets on a snowy night were like an empty city, but the luxurious nightclub was filled with a luxurious atmosphere amid the noise. In room 888 of the presidential suite, He Lanjin woke up in a daze in front of her desk. She found that her fiancé and best friend had disappeared, and she was a little puzzled. She had promised to throw a bachelor party for her tonight, but why was she the only one left? Thinking of this, her stomach hurt so much that she did not think much about it. She got up and walked towards the bathroom. She pushed the door open and walked in. Just as she was about to wash her face, she heard the sound of a man panting. She looked at the word female pasted on the wall and boldly took 2 steps forward. She saw 2 men hugging each other and passionately kissing each other on the toilet bowl in the small cubicle that was half closed. "Baby, hurry up." The man was panting non-stop. This voice was so familiar that it was like a bolt from the blue, waking her from her drunken stupor. She had never dreamed that Lu Zifan, who was going to be engaged to her the next day, would actually be gay. Although the 2 families did not reject gay people, they had already decided to form a marriage alliance. In the future, the person lying next to her would be a gay person who had even performed a passionate act in front of her. When she thought of this, she could not help but feel disgusted. Out of the blue, she took out her phone and turned on the video recording. She looked at the flashes of love and passion on the screen, just like how the He family was now. In the depths of hell her heart sank. She resisted the urge to vomit, but her little hands were trembling with anger. Halfway through the video recording, she heard the door of the ladies' room being pushed open. The sound of high heels approached from afar, and she subconsciously hid in the dark. "Zifan." The woman's delicate voice was heard, and she gave He Lanjin a blow on the head. Her entire body seemed to have been struck by lightning, and the blood in her body congealed. When she heard the sound, she looked over and saw her best friend, He Ruoxue, approaching her. Lu Zifan, who was almost having a G.wave in the bathroom, pushed the man under him away and held back his desire to raise Ku Zi. His tone carried an imperative tone as he comforted her. "I'm just playing along with her. You know that. Don't ruin it. When the time comes, you'll have your own benefits." Then, with a bang, Lu Zifan slammed the door of the cubicle behind him. When He Ruoxue appeared, he quickly flashed behind her and hugged her. Then, he covered her mouth and pressed her body against the cubicle door. He said ambiguously, "Baby, aren't you afraid that He Lanjin will find out that you asked me to come here?" He Lanjin's pupils continued to dilate. Her phone fell down and hit her foot, landing quietly on the carpet. This He Ruoxue was actually sleeping with her fiancé. Lu Zifan was really amazing. Not only did he sleep with men, but he also slept with women. He was really a young master from a famous family in Jiang City. He was so angry that he flew towards He Lanjin and watched this scene. He Ruoxue said in a delicate voice, "Zifan, don't you think that the toilet is more exciting? Moreover, He Lanjin is as drunk as a dead pig right now. How would she find out? He Lanjin, that idiot, had been drunk by her." She was so happy that she thought it was really a celebration for her. He Ruoxue bit her lips and exhaled as she whispered in Lu Zifan's ear. Then, she looked at the handsome man in front of her with her seductive eyes. This young master from a famous family in Jiang City should be hers. How could He Lanjin, that idiot, be worthy of her? Lu Zifan heard the words of the woman who was wrapped around him. He looked at the woman who was intoxicated and looking at him. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. "You want to play? Then your husband will fulfill your wish," Lu Zifan said and deliberately pressed down on her body. He Lanjin, who was standing in the dark. When she heard the disgusting conversation between the 2, she was so angry that her forehead was jumping. She wanted to kick the two to death. However, the moment she wanted to jump out, she suddenly heard some movement in another small cubicle. The noise woke her up at the same time. He Longin quickly calmed down after being awakened by this person's action. She could not be impulsive. She wanted to see the two of them and find out what else she did not know. Ah! You're the worst. He Ruoshue's eyes were blurred by Lu Zifen's superb tricks. She wanted to be relieved immediately, but Lu Zifen did not give it to her for a long time. He Ruoshue could not help but become anxious. Seeing her anxious look, Lu Zifen deliberately hung up on her and said seductively, "Have you investigated everything that I told you before? Did you get the thing?" Hearing this, He Ruoshue immediately woke up a little. She reached out and tapped Lu Zifen's chest. "Honey, don't worry. I've already investigated the things that you told me. I'll definitely get the information when the time comes." Hearing this, Lu Zifen finally revealed a sincere smile of praise as he looked at the intoxicated woman below him. He Ruoshue was seduced by him, and she was as wild as she could be. "As long as you follow our plan and expose the secret of the He family's influential family in Jiang City during the engagement banquet tomorrow, then the He family will have completely offended the entire circle of influential people. The He family will lose their trust in the influential people of Jiang City and will definitely go bankrupt. At that time, you can try to turn the tide and the He family will be yours. And our marriage will still continue. At that time, the mistress will have to be changed," he said. Lu Zifen looked at He Ruoshue and said with an unclear meaning. Her eyes lit up when she was toyed with by him. At that time, she would be the person in charge of the He family, and she would be able to marry Zifen openly. Then, she would be Mrs. Lu, and He Longin, the proud daughter of the heavens, would become a rat crossing the street. Thinking of this, He Ruoshue revealed an even more determined viciousness. He Longin, who was standing in the dark and listening to everything, heard the conversation between these two B***stards who were scheming against the He family. Her feelings of betrayal were greatly reduced by the scheming of this shameless B***starred couple. Shameless people were invincible. Not only did this B***starred couple sleep together and betray her, they even wanted to plot against her He family. This was simply intolerable. He Ruoshue, this good friend, was taken as an adopted daughter by her parents and raised for 10 years. She was taken care of like her own sister and gave her everything. Now, she was secretly conspiring with Lu Zifen to plot against the He family. Even an ingrate would not dare to do this. He Longin's exquisite little face turned from anger to coldness, and her almond-shaped eyes shone with coldness. At this moment, He Ruoshue was getting more and more excited as her beautiful eyes filled with greed. The He family was hers, and He Longin would become her prisoner. Thinking about this scene, every pore on her body revealed a sense of comfort. "Zifen, you." The two men and women, who were immersed in passion, thought that there was no one else in the toilet. While they were scheming viciously, they acted as if there was no one else beside them. At this moment, when He Longin heard this kind of unrestrained voice, her anger had already disappeared. Her eyes shone with a calm and profound look. He Longin's almond-shaped eyes instantly glanced down at the bottom of the toilet. The messy clothes immediately gave her an idea. Then, she quietly observed the two small cubicles without anyone noticing. He Longin put away the phone that had successfully recorded the video. Then, she gently walked out and picked up all the clothes that had fallen on the ground and wrapped them up. She hung the words, He Ruoxidin/Ku, on the door handle of the cubicle and quietly left. Chapter 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 will put you on the headlines. Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. When she went out, she saw a drunk fatty rubbing powder. When he saw her, he narrowed his eyes and came up to her. He touched her with his big fat palm and said, "Little girl, do you want me to dote on you?" As he said that, he reached out his hand to touch her smugly. He Longin's eyes turned cold. When she saw the powder on his hand, she suddenly had an idea and raised her hand to make the fatty faint. Her mind quivered. She picked up the white flower on the ground, turned around, and gently threw it under the small cubicle. She quickly went out and took out a "toilet repair" sign and put it at the door, afraid that someone would ruin her good deed. When she left, she saw the fat man who had been knocked out by her. She picked up his hand and made a call. She deliberately said in a flustered voice, "Is this the police station? I want to report someone who is engaging in sex trade in the nightclub bathroom. Moreover, they are taking drugs and drugs. I'm afraid that someone will die. Police comrades, come quickly." Then, Heilongjian explained the location in detail. She immediately hung up the phone. After making the call to the police, Heilongjian rolled her eyes and immediately made another call. She called the most famous entertainment gossip reporter in Jiang City. Tomorrow's engagement party must be cancelled, and she could also send a big gift to the Lu family. In less than 2 minutes, a group of police rushed into the nightclub in a grandiose manner. They went straight to the maintenance female toilet. They immediately kicked the door open and entered. When they saw the sign of the suspended thong, they immediately kicked the door open. "Police, police, those who are involved in illegal transactions, please come out immediately." Lu Zifan was at a critical juncture, and he was almost impotent from the kick of the door. He was about to start cursing, but when he heard these words, he immediately felt that something was wrong. He subconsciously reached out to push Hiruoshua, lifted his pants, and quickly stood up. While Hiruoshua was intoxicated and enjoying herself, she was violently pushed away. She bumped into the back of her waist and was in so much pain that she couldn't even stand up. When she heard the sound of someone knocking on the door outside, she instantly woke up. She immediately realized the consequences and panicked. "Zifan, why are the police here? What should we do now?" As she spoke, Hiruoshua subconsciously wanted to pull Lu Zifan away. She lowered her head to look for clothes, wanting to avoid this disaster. However, when she reached out to grab her clothes, she realized that there was nothing on the ground. Where did her clothes go? Seeing this, Lu Zifan immediately frowned and his face immediately revealed a vicious look. "Quickly hide next door." Lu Zifan lifted his pants and wanted to push Hiruoshua next door. She fell into the arms of a half-naked man. Her mouth was covered and he forcefully held her down, as if he had a grudge against her. The police rushed in and looked at Lu Zifan, who was disheveled. They looked at him meaningfully. They did not expect that the famous young master of the Lu family in Jiang City would be reported as having a threesome at a nightclub. Although they did not catch him in the act, they could smell the strong stench in the air. The police despised him in their hearts, but they said with a serious face, "Young Master Lu, we received a report that someone was selling sex and taking drugs at a nightclub. Please move aside. I also received a report that young Master Lu and your sister-in-law were in a passionate photo in the toilet." The well-known reporter raised his phone and handed over the photo that he had just received. "I'm afraid you're mistaken. There's definitely no other person besides me. Don't tell me you're suspecting me." My fiancé Heilongjian is now in private room 888. We're getting engaged tomorrow. Are you guys doing this for me? Besides, this photo is a little fake. Lu Zifan stared at them in a gentle and refined manner. Besides, my Lu family is also a reputable person in Jiang City. You guys can come and arrest them, but if anyone dares to slander my Lu family's reputation, I, Lu Zifan, guarantee. The senior reporter in Jiang City immediately pointed to the neighboring room and said, "We will know if there's anyone there after we search. Young Master Lu has been stopping us. Could it be that he has a secret in his heart?" Lu Zifan's heart sank. He sneered and said, "Since you want to search, feel free to do so. Forgive me for not accompanying you. However, if you disturb another couple, I'm afraid you won't be able to explain yourself, right?" Before he could finish his words, Hiruoshua went into the next cubicle and saw a man without pants sitting on the toilet. She was so scared that she turned around and rushed out. Everyone saw a half-naked woman fall out in front of everyone. They saw her turn around and run towards him. Ziffen, save me. The reporters captured this scene and said, "This is a live broadcast of Jiangqing's explosive headlines. It was a shameful play in the female toilet of the nightclub. Now we see. Isn't this woman young Master Lu, your fiancé.'s sister? The two of you are in the toilet." Lu Ziffen wanted to strangle her to death, but he didn't expect Zhao Yui to create trouble for him at this critical moment. "WHO's in there. Get out now," Lu Ziffen said coldly. The police immediately went to pull Zhao Yui out. Seeing that he wasn't wearing any pants, everyone couldn't help but think about it. Young Master Lu actually had a threesome. Being stared at viciously by Lu Ziffen, the delicate-looking Zhao Yui gritted his teeth and hugged the half-naked Hiruoshua, saying, "We're a couple having fun. What's the matter with you two?" Lu Ziffen was initially furious, but he heaved a sigh of relief after being lied to by Zhao Yui. "Young Master Lu, what's that on your feet?" The reporter who received the report was unwilling to let it go. He looked around sharply and finally found something fishy. Chapter 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. What does Miss He think? Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. Very soon, the police found a bag of powder. Looking at Hiruoshua and Lu Ziffen's feet, they said in a strange tone, "Young Master Lu, please come with us." On the top floor of the nightclub, in the VIP room, a tall figure stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window like a king. Through the specially made transparent glass wall, he looked down at everything in the nightclub tonight. Especially when he saw the last tall figure that appeared in the surveillance camera, it aroused his curiosity. There was actually someone who could sneak into the surveillance room under his security system and silently hack all the surveillance cameras from half an hour ago. It really made people curious. The corner of Qiao Hanye's mouth curled up into a cold and evil arc. He held the goblet and elegantly swayed it. The red wine swirled into a beautiful arc with his hand strength. "What's going on?" Qiao Hanye's magnetic voice said in a low voice. His gaze passed through all the people in the nightclub, and his handsome eyebrows raised along with her cute appearance. "Master." Han Beiqing respectfully stood a step behind him and said in a low voice, "Someone reported that the young master of the Lu family was sleeping with his sister.in-law in the toilet. The entertainment reporters and the police caught him in the act, and now he has been arrested." Hearing this, Qiao Hanye's expression froze, and then he elegantly lifted his goblet and drank the red wine in one gulp, his thin lips slightly pursing. Under the dim light, his face was as flawless as a knife, and his deep, dark, cold eyes narrowed slightly. "Go and find out who did it." Qiao Hanye then asked in a deep voice. The temperature in the VIP room instantly dropped by 20 degrees as he spoke, freezing Han Beiqing's entire body. It's young Master Lu's fiancé. He Lanjin. Master, this He family and the Lu family are about to be married. This subordinate looks at this young miss of the He family today, and I'm afraid she's not as useless as the rumors say. Han Beiqing thought of the system being breached by a woman. He had suffered a serious blow. Unexpectedly, Qiao Hanye could not help but laugh. His deep and cold black eyes flashed with a playful smile. "Go and destroy all the surveillance cameras tonight." Han Beiqing was stunned. His gaze glanced at a certain slender and sly figure in the surveillance cameras. He did not dare to be negligent for even half a second and left. Hiss. 15 minutes ago, He Lanjin took advantage of the security guards to go for a midnight snack and broke into the security room. She hacked all the videos of her within an hour. After she was done, when she returned to the private room, she accidentally bumped into a tall man. Even now, her arm was still in a lot of pain and she almost lost her phone. Fortunately, she was smart enough to pick it up. He Lanjin rubbed her arm and quickly poured a bottle of wine on herself. She pretended to be drunk and fell asleep on the table. Not long after she lay down, she heard the sound of the private room door being knocked open. "Miss He, something bad has happened. Your fiancé and sister are in trouble. The police took them away." As the waiter called out, He Longjin pretended to be woken up. Before she could ask, she felt lights in front of her. All the entertainment reporters rushed in. They came in just in time to testify for her. Tonight's incident had nothing to do with her. He Longjin sneered in her heart, but she pretended to be confused. She looked at the people in front of her with an infatuated look. "How is that possible?" He Longjin burped and shook her hand, expressing her disbelief. "Xiaoxue and Ziffen are lying here drunk. What does it have to do with the police?" As she said that, He Longjin even staggered. She burped a long time, looking like she was very drunk. At this time, there was finally an entertainment reporter who did not mind the fuss. He grabbed He Longjin and dragged her downstairs as he spoke loudly to her. "Miss He, please wake up. Your fiancé, Lu Ziffen, and your sister, He Ruoxue, were caught in the bathroom with their legs cracked. We saw this with our own eyes. Now, they were found to be on drugs and have been taken away by the police." As she spoke, she took out a photo from her camera. She wanted to enlarge it for He Longjin to see. "What leg cracked? I think you guys are mistaken. Lu Ziffen has a good character. He's definitely not the kind of person you say he is." He Longjin shook her head drunkenly and said with a certain voice. Then, He Longjin shook her finger and pointed at the crowd, saying with a smile, "You bunch of gossipy reporters, don't be afraid of the world falling into chaos. Even if my fiancé is a piece of trash, my sister He Ruoxue will not betray me." When the reporters saw that she did not believe them, they immediately became anxious. Someone immediately handed over the photo that they had just taken and explained the process of the toilet. Although the toilet matter seemed to have involved Lu Ziffen innocently, he could not help it. However, this group of entertainment reporters understood the essence of entertainment news. Regardless of whether it was true or not, if they could hype it up to be true, they wanted to see He Longjin's reaction. "Miss He, with the photo as proof, what are you going to do?" At this moment, He Longjin had already woken up from the shaking. She looked at the screen they handed over and saw the photo of the woman lying on the ground in a sorry state. The man was hugging He Ruoxue. Her delicate little face instantly turned as white as paper and her eyes instantly turned red. Her body trembled as she shook her head and said, "No, this is impossible. I don't believe it. You guys are lying to me." He Longjin rushed out of the private room excitedly and headed downstairs. When the entertainment reporters saw that there was something interesting, they immediately followed. The two parties met at the entrance of the nightclub. Her eyes were red as she looked at Lu Ziffen and He Ruoxue, who were pushed out by the police. When they saw each other, the atmosphere instantly turned cold. Benove calm Lu Ziffen and He Ruoxue's expressions instantly changed. They looked at He Longjin with suspicion. When they smelled the strong smell of alcohol on her body, He Ruoxue's eyes were red as she cried out pitifully, "Sister, someone wants to harm me." Chapter 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 F***ck, When Did I Become a Mother? Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. Lu Ziffen was not worried that He Longjin would find out about his relationship with He Ruoxue. He was only concerned about who was plotting against them tonight. After thinking about it, other than business enemies, He Longjin was the most suspicious. "Miss He, if you drink too much, be careful not to fall." Being reminded by the waiter, He Longjin stared at the two people with red eyes. She staggered and almost fell in front of He Ruoxue. She reached out to lift up the loose and ill-fitting clothes on her body and saw the mottled lipstick marks on He Ruoxue's body. She immediately looked at the two people with an incredulous expression, especially when she saw the lipstick marks on He Ruoxue's neck. "Sister, listen to my explanation." He Ruoxue saw that He Longjin's expression was not right and immediately became nervous, afraid that He Longjin would misunderstand. He Longin did not give her a chance to explain the so-called truth at all. She was like a withered flower as she pushed He Ruoxue away with a sorrowful and disappointed expression. Lu Zifan saw He Longin suddenly staring at him with red eyes. Lu Zifan, how can you let me down? Without waiting for him to explain, He Longin quickly pounced over and gave Lu Zifan a tight slap. She was so fast and fierce that Lu Zifan was stunned. He Longin, you're crazy, aren't you? Lu Zifan felt the taste of blood at the corner of his mouth since she dared to hit him. He Longin was happy when she heard Lu Zifan's hateful question, but she pretended not to hear it. Instead, she looked heartbroken as she stared at the two of them in a daze. Zifan, Xiaoxue, are you really together? Where are you putting me? You're the people I trust the most. He Longin wailed as she questioned him. She looked like she had gone mad with despair after being betrayed. Everyone's attention was on her, covering up Lu Zifan and He Ruoxue's explanation and attracting the attention of all the people who did not know the situation. When everyone followed He Longin's accusation and looked at Lu Zifan and He Ruoxue with disdain, Lu Zifan and He Ruoxue looked at each other. He Longin deliberately did not give anyone time to react. She suddenly stood up and revealed a look of despair. She looked at Lu Zifan and He Ruoxue and said, since you are true love, then I, as your sister, will fulfill your wish. As soon as she finished speaking, she covered her mouth and rushed out of the crowd's encirclement, leaving behind a figure that looked like a despairing abandoned woman. Miss He suffered the double betrayal of her fiancé. And her sister. In law. She was disheartened and lost control of her emotions. She drove a drunk car to court death. The reporters who chased after her saw that He Longin had fallen a few times. They got into their sports cars sadly and sped off. They immediately drew up a draft on the spot and revealed that the Lu family had gone too far by bullying her sister. In law in front of her. He Longin might have committed suicide. Lu Zifan, who had been beaten into a daze, was forced into the car by the police under everyone's disdainful gazes. This matter was spread like wildfire. He Longin, who had lost all hope after her fiancé and younger sister kicked her in the leg, was heartbroken and quickly became a trending topic. After escaping the scene, He Longin sped away from the paparazzi. When she recalled if there was a loophole in the previous incident, she heard the sound of a phone call. Hello, Mom. He Longin immediately picked up the phone, but unexpectedly, the other end of the phone was silent for 2 seconds. She immediately exploded, F***ck, when did I become a mother? Before she could recover from her shock, the other party hung up the phone. The strange male voice woke her up. He Longin was just about to call back when she realized that the phone screen had turned black. He Longin then realized that this phone did not seem to be her phone. It was as if a bolt from the blue had struck her. Where did her phone go, and whose phone was this? The most important thing was what to do with the video she had recorded previously. That was all her evidence. She also wanted to take the video back to her parents so that they could see the true colors of He Ruoxue and Lu Zifan. Without the video, if the Lu family really made a move, how would she prove that he had been planning this for a long time? How could she turn the tide then? He Longin immediately wanted to return to the nightclub. Her phone must have fallen into the nightclub. Could it be that she ran into someone in the surveillance room and picked up the wrong phone? The nightclub was completely surrounded. It was impossible to go back now. She quivered and immediately took out the iPad to track the location. When she realized that her phone was not in the nightclub, she hesitated for a moment and said, why would my phone appear in the suburbs? Although she could not figure it out, she had no other choice. She quickly used the GPS to go straight to the nightclub and soon arrived after racing. She raised her head and looked at the dark and remote place. She could not believe that her phone was actually in there. When she thought of the evidence in the phone, she had no other choice. She took a deep breath, straightened her back, and strode forward without hesitation. She pushed open the heavy door and walked in. The cold winter wind blew. In the messy inner courtyard of the abandoned house, dried leaves were swept up by the wind and thrown into the air. They slowly fell. The moonlight elongated her 170cm figure and reflected it on the ground. Her flat white shoes stepped on the fallen leaves, making a crisp sound. She had only taken a few steps when she felt a strong gaze that could pass through her body. He Longin looked up and vaguely saw a tall figure. Chapter 5. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 5 was a little hard author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. Is there anyone there? He Longin looked around her. The night was dark and windy. However, she had graduated from the military academy and was already 23 years old. She was no longer a little girl. Although she was a little nervous when facing the desolate house, she still dared to enter. Not long after she entered, she saw a tall figure standing there. His entire body was emitting a chill. Even though he was in the air, he could still make people shiver. With the help of the moonlight, the man's facial features were as beautiful as a knife carving. His deep black eyes were unfathomable, and he was so elegant. However, he was unfathomable. Don't be rude. Han Beicheng appeared in the dark. When he saw He Longin appear here, he stared at Xiao Hanya. He felt that she was impolite and was about to knock her out and drag her away. Then, He Longin heard the sound of retreat. She only felt a gust of wind blow past, rolling up a few fallen leaves, but she did not see anything. She was stunned. She did not know who this person was, but she knew that the person in the dark was an expert. Miss He, what's the matter? Xiao Hanya wore a black coat and stood there with his hands behind his back. His deep, dark eyes glanced at her indifferently as he asked in a magnetic voice. He Longin heard his address and immediately became alert. She looked around. How did this person know her surname? Could it be that the person she bumped into outside the surveillance door was him? That cell phone might be in his hand. Thinking of this, she immediately said, I'm here to find something. Oh. Xiao Hanya listened. His thin lips pursed into an arc as he raised his eyebrows. He walked forward with heavy steps. The man's powerful aura forced her to step back step by step. With her back against the wall, dried leaves fell from the air and stuck to her hair. How do you know I have it? Xiao Hanya lowered his head and his slender fingers landed on her hair. He Longin felt a little embarrassed when she saw him move away with a piece of fallen leaf between his fingers. Can't you just look for it? He Longin held her breath and reached out to grab his wrist and move his hand away. He was very close to her. The man's mature aura rushed into her nose and enveloped her. He Longin was panicking like never before. There were many suitors around her, including Lu Zifan, who was going to marry her. She was indifferent even when she looked at him coldly, but now, she was confused by a small movement of a stranger. He Longin subconsciously reached out and pushed him away. Her hand touched his chest, and she instantly felt as if she had touched a hot potato, causing her to be at a loss for what to do. Then, Miss He, please. Xiao Hanya turned around like a gentleman and motioned for her to enter. He Longin hesitated for a moment. She didn't believe that the other party was so kind-hearted, but she quickly bypassed him and began to search carefully. However, she found nothing, but her cell phone's location was in this house. After searching a few times, He Longin turned around and looked suspiciously at Xiao Hanya. Could it be that he picked up her phone by mistake and instead of returning it, he asked her to search it? What exactly was his purpose? He Longin was puzzled. What? Miss, do you still want to search me? Xiao Hanya asked in a low voice as he watched her approach. He Longin walked in front of him. She took a deep breath. Normally, she would know what to do, but now she really needed the video and photos in the phone, so she could only be rude to the person in front of her. Since you took the initiative to remind me, I'm sorry. He Longin gritted her teeth. The location of the phone was at this location. With her technology, there was no way she could make a mistake. He was the only one here. What if the phone was really with him? Thinking of this, He Longjin examined the possible places where the phone could be hidden. Then, she took the opportunity when the other party was unprepared and quickly made her move. He Longjin quickly touched it a few times and squeezed it into his pocket. It was a little hard. She looked up at him and quickly reached her hand in to hold it. Chapter 6 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 I suspect that you want to rape author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. Han Beicheng, who was hiding in the dark, held his breath and stretched out his neck to look like a giraffe. He could not figure out why. His master had lived for 28 years, and she had always been resolute in doing things. She was never close to women, so how could she let a woman search her body and not strangle her to death in anger? Moreover, with his master's skills, she was already a corpse before the other party made a move. But now, his master actually took the initiative to let her touch him several times. It was simply shocking. He Longjin gloomily looked at the lighter in her hand and felt that she had been played with. Xiao Hanya looked at the thing she was playing with her fingertips and looked at her meaningfully. Being stared at by his deep black eyes, she suddenly felt a burning sensation in her ears. Why did she feel like she was being led by the nose? While she was deep in thought, she saw him take out his phone and press 3 numbers, preparing to dial it. What are you going to do? She had just searched him and felt a little guilty, so she asked cautiously. Xiao Hanya's silent black eyes fell on her exquisite face. Looking at her vigilant appearance, the image of her arrogant but cute appearance in the nightclub appeared in his mind. For some reason, he wanted to tease her, so he said, "Call the police. Call the police." She was stunned. The man held the phone, and his magnetic voice became hoarse. He lowered his head and said to her in a deep voice, "You broke into a private house and touched me. I suspect that you want to rape." F***ck, He Longjin was furious after hearing that. Rape. Bang! On the wall of the deserted house, Han Beicheng lost his balance and fell down from there. "I'll return the lighter to you." He Longjin took his lighter and threw it away. She felt like she was running away. Besides, she was not sure that the phone was on him. Moreover, the identity of this person was unknown, and the He family was in deep trouble. The crisis had not been resolved yet, so she could not offend anyone casually. She had to restrain her temper. Otherwise, she would have already dealt with him. Let's see how he would act arrogantly in front of her. Call the police and report her as a pervert **t. Sir, I was presumptuous just now. I apologize for offending you. Since you don't have what I want here, I'll take my leave, He Longjin immediately said seriously. Then, she turned around and left without looking back. She returned to the car. She wondered if she had been possessed. Just now she took out the iPad and saw that the signal on her phone had really disappeared at this moment. She rubbed her forehead and looked out the window. Her gaze was fixed on the ancient desolate mansion. This mansion was very strange. The people inside were even stranger. Speaking of which, it was also strange. She had grown up in Jiang City and had never heard of this place. It was as if this place had been deliberately forgotten by the whole world. It no longer existed. As the eldest daughter of the He family, she could be considered to have some understanding of Jiang City's circle. However, she did not know that there was actually such a person in Jiang City. Who exactly was he? Why was he here? He Longjin was lost in her thoughts when she heard the commotion. She looked up and saw a tall figure walking out. The heavy wooden door was closed and the tall and handsome man bent down and got into a car that had stopped at the entrance. The most important thing was that person seemed to be holding something in his hand. He Longjin's gaze was fixed on his hand and she was completely dumbfounded. The thing in his hand was actually her phone. She had been tricked by him just now. Phone, my phone. He Longjin was stunned. She, who had very good eyesight, immediately recognized that he was holding her phone before he got into the car. Her phone was very similar to the phone in her hand. They were both black, but when she was bored, she learned to carve for a few days, so she carved something on the phone case. Although it flashed by just now, she was sure that it was her phone. "Hey, give me back my phone!" He Longine quickly shouted. She stepped on the accelerator and wanted to chase after him, but a figure rushed out from the darkness. She quickly stopped, and when she wanted to chase after him, the car had already disappeared without a trace in the dark. He Longine slammed the steering wheel hard. It turned out that she had been teased just now, damn man. But he clearly took her phone, why didn't he return it? Wait, she didn't seem to say she was looking for the phone. Chapter 7 You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 7 Suicide. Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation, Qin Nan, it's me. Help me check the surveillance footage of this section of the XX road. I'm looking for a man. She took the iPad and played a video to young Master Qin. However, she saw that Qin Nan was very flirtatious over there, with a few internet celebrities beside him drinking with him. Seeing that it was her video, Qin Nan hurriedly pushed the internet celebrity beauty away and said, "Looking for a man. He Longine, I've been waiting for you here for N years. You just don't like me. Who do you think is more handsome and richer than me in Jiang City? Lu Zifan, that country bumpkin. Don't talk nonsense with me," He Longine said. Qin Nan refused to help and immediately made a call. On the other end of the video, his expression changed. He looked at the video and said, "The power lines on that section of the road were short-circuited tonight. There's nothing left." "Got it." He Longine listened and threw the iPad to the passenger seat. Qin Nan's loud voice came from the other end, and she felt her head hurt even more. What a coincidence that the circuit was short-circuited. It seemed that the only clue was to start from this house. He would be able to find him eventually. The pitch-black road seemed to devour the earth. In the limited luxury car, Xiao Hanye sat in the back seat, resting with his eyes closed. "Master." Han Beiqing drove the car and looked at the rear mirror. He said in a low and respectful voice, "The information you want to check has been sent to your phone. You haven't played with women before. Are you ready to play?" Before Han Beiqing could finish his words, he saw Xiao Hanye open his tightly shut black eyes. His silent black eyes were as cold as ice as he stared at Han Beiqing. Han Beiqing quickly shut his mouth and changed his words, saying, should we release the news that the descendants of the Qiao family have returned to Jiang City?" "No need." Han Beiqing's hands, which were holding the steering wheel, were sweating with excitement. If the people of the Qiao family knew that Xiao Hanye had just molested a woman, he believed that all 18 generations of his ancestors would be able to jump out of their graves to inquire about the situation. Previously, when he was lying on the wall and heard Xiao Hanye say, "I suspect that she had raped a woman," he was so shocked that he fell off the wall. His painful but told him that all of this was true. Cough. "Master, you said that the young master of the Lu family was actually caught in the women's restroom for soliciting prostitutes. This He family. Sigh, the waters in Jiang City are very deep." Han Beiqing silently looked at the rearview mirror and quickly changed the topic. Xiao Hanye's gaze fell on the iPad's financial bulletin. His fingertips subconsciously clicked on the latest entertainment section. The exquisite little face on the breaking news had a look of despair, as if she had been abandoned and betrayed by the whole world. He lowered his eyes to look at the phone beside him, deep in thought. In the blink of an eye, he thought of her sneaky figure in the nightclub and the domineering calmness of the body search just now. Just how many aspects of this woman were unknown to others. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, as if he was looking forward to it. Jiang City seemed to be an interesting place. It was just that some people had to pay a painful price for what they had done. He Longine. He looked at the information that Han Beiqing had previously investigated. His gaze fell on the name, and he softly recited it in his heart. BL.net. At this moment, on the road, Helan Jean was being teased. She slammed the steering wheel hard and drove back to the city. When she thought of the true colors of Hiroshua and Lu Zifan, she hated the fact that the evidence in her hands had been thrown away. Her parents would not believe her with just a mouth. When she thought of this, she saw the news broadcast on the screen in the square. The reporter said, "Miss, he has been hurt by young Master Lu. Her emotions are unstable. She may have committed suicide, please take note of this." Committed suicide. When Helan Jean heard these 4 words, her eyes could not help but light up. She suddenly thought of an idea. Shouldn't she be more full of love and despair? Chapter 8. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 8. She was really hit author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. Looking at the cold weather on the road, it was almost empty at this time. At this time, a luxurious car drove by. A tall figure was elegantly leaning against the back seat. When he was resting with his eyes closed, he caught a glimpse of the figure not far away. He said in a deep voice, "Stop the car." Screech. The godly car quickly braked and stopped for 2 seconds. Han Beicheng sat in the driver's seat. As he stopped the car, he said respectfully, "Master, as you expected, the surveillance video in the nightclub has been destroyed." Unexpectedly, a small matter had attracted the attention of Xiao Hanya. Could it be that there was an important secret involved? Otherwise, why would Xiao Hanya, who could control the business and political world, pay so much attention to it? Xiao Hanya held his phone and looked at the half-deleted video sent by Nan Fong. His gaze was fixed on the latest news from Jiang City 2 minutes ago. Looking at the figure standing on the bridge in front of him, he couldn't help but wonder what she was trying to do. "Master." Han Beicheng didn't get a response for a long time and called out in a low voice. Xiao Hanya looked up. His deep black eyes were unfathomable. Looking at the hesitant figure not far away, the corners of his mouth curled into a meaningful smile. As if he knew what she was going to do, his fingertips lightly tapped on the armrest and said in a deep voice, "Ram it over." "Ha!" Han Beicheng was stunned. He turned around impolitely and looked at the sedan not far away in front of him. It seemed that the owner of the car was a little impatient. Wait a minute, why was this figure so familiar? It seemed like he had seen it somewhere before. "Ram it over." Xiao Hanya repeated in a deep voice. Han Beicheng was so frightened by his glance that he trembled and his legs were tightly clamped together. Han Beicheng held the steering wheel and stepped on the accelerator as he sped over. With a bang, the luxury car crashed into the car, but it cleverly avoided the driver's seat. The front car was dented and thick smoke was emitted. Although the person in the driver's seat fainted, it was not a big deal. It was really a car accident that tested one's skills. "Send him to the hospital." Xiao Hanya got out of the car to make sure that the person was fine and said in a low voice. Han Beicheng looked at the familiar face and could not keep up with his master's thoughts. "You said that master was interested in him, yet you deliberately ran him over. Are you trying to kill each other?" When Han Beicheng was in a mess, he heard his master continue, "Tell Nan Fong that he has a severe concussion and send him to the first aid." Han Beicheng did not dare to breathe heavily and quickly made a call. Helan Jean read the news report and said that she was bullied by Lu Zifan and was looking for stimulation in public. It was very likely that she would commit suicide. She originally wanted to choose a place to crash the car to cater to the news and push Lu Zifan's prostitution to the G-wave. She did not expect that after hesitating a few times, when she was about to hit the railing, the other party seemed to know what she was going to do and really bumped into her. After the incident, she was forcefully sent to the hospital and was even labeled as having a severe concussion and a massive heart bleed. She looked at her entire body, which was covered in bandages. The doctor even warned her, "Miss, your injuries are too serious. You can't move around recklessly." Hearing the doctor's words, He Lanjin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Doctor, do I look like I'm going to die?" He Lanjin looked at her bandaged forehead and arms. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Were all the doctors nowadays blind? She was clearly alive and kicking. Where was she injured? The doctor said that her injuries were serious. He even wrote down a medical record for her and forcefully bandaged her inside and out, as if he was afraid that no one would know that she was injured. He Lanjin raised her hand that was wrapped in thick gauze and touched her forehead. She felt that the gauze on her body was at least heavy, which made her very tired. "The news has already aired. You committed suicide because you were cheated on. There are plenty of men who are good with big tools. Why do you want to commit suicide because of a short mushroom, so you don't look like a person who is about to die? Instead, you're so stupid," said the doctor, who was wearing a mask and had a sharp tongue. After rolling his eyes, he closed the medical record and turned around to close the door. He Lanjin's mouth twitched when she was reprimanded by the doctor with a dirty joke. This was really a misunderstanding. How would she know if Lu Zifan was long or short? Even though the two families were connected by marriage, she had never let him touch her hand. She did not even have any interest in this man other than her parents. When she thought of this, she lay heavily on the VIP bed and looked at the entertainment news. It was half-naked Hiroshua and Lu Zifan hugging each other and saying that they were a couple, while Lu Zifan said that this matter had nothing to do with him. She was so angry that she laughed out loud. It made her stomach cramp. Chapter 9. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 9. Slandered her for going to a nightclub to find a man. Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. This relationship was so messy that it really hurt her head. Lu Zifan was gay, and he even slept with Hiroshua. Now, in order to cover up Lu Zifan's lie and deny that they had a threesome, she had to pretend to be in love with Hiroshua. This relationship was really complicated. Although the matter had been exposed and the threesome had been grand and vigorous, the storm seemed to have been resolved. Now, she could only reveal the truth by taking back her phone. He Lanjin felt excited just thinking about it. If Hiroshua found out that the man she loved was actually gay before she went to the toilet, she had already had a 300-round battle with the little girl. Just think about that situation. Miss He. At this moment, the voice of the reporter outside the door rang out. "I've already said that Miss He is currently unconscious. Don't disturb the patient. As long as you have a little bit of sympathy, please go and interview the scumbag men and women. What's the use of staring at Miss He?" Hearing this, He Lanjin immediately realized her situation. The role she played was that of the weak, innocent and magnanimous miss who was still reasonable after being hurt. Therefore, she had to say nothing in order to gain sympathy. Thinking of this, she immediately closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep. Last night, her car had just been hit, but it had caused a sensation. It was as if a flawless plan had been perfectly displayed. Who was the person who hit her? Was it a coincidence, or was he really helping her? This feeling was very bad, but after a night of torment, it was too tiring. In the end, He Lanjin could not stand the sleepiness and fell asleep in a daze. The He and Lu families were caught up in the news overnight. Douban and Weibo were trending. Although the Lu and He families tried their best to suppress it, the news still spread throughout the streets and alleys of Jiang City, becoming one of the topics of gossip. He Lanjin, who was lying in the hospital bed, had a beautiful dream. Her left hand was torturing the scumbag man, her right hand was kicking little white flower to death, and there was a big wolf dog beside her. It opened its mouth and pounced on Hiroshua's buttocks. Looking at the pained look on her best friend's face, He Lanjin was so excited that she fell off the bed. He Lanjin's body, which was wrapped in gauze, fell off the bed and only got up after a long time. Looking at the quiet hospital, she quietly returned to the He residence. Before she entered the door, she heard Hiroshua's sobbing voice. Her hand that was holding the key was stiff, and she subconsciously looked over. She did not expect Hiroshige to be released on bail so quickly. This also meant that Hiroshige held a high position in her parents' hearts. When Hilanjin thought of this, her heart could not help but sink. Dad, Mom, I really did not do anything to let my sister down. The news was all nonsense, and the photos were photoshopped. The police even accused me of taking drugs. Did they still find out that I was fine? Last night, my sister was too happy and poured me a lot of alcohol, but I swear that I really did not do anything to let her down. The nightclub is a mix of fish and dragons. My sister drank too much and did not come home for a night. What if she was? Dad, Mom, do you think she could not take the stimulation and wanted to take revenge on young Master Lu, so she found a man and did something stupid? Hiroshige cried until she was heartbroken. However, she deliberately went to Hilanjin for a night, which made people think. If she didn't come home for a night, she could make a big deal out of it. At that time, public opinion could shift to Hilanjin. Otherwise, if the two old fellows of the He family really suspected her, things would be troublesome. Last night at the police station, Lu Zifan and she had already discussed countermeasures. Even if the news broke a scandal, as long as she could win the He family's trust, she could turn the tables and crush Hilanjin. Perhaps she could even replace him. Hilanjin stood at the entrance. When she heard this, she raised her eyebrows and sneered. Hiroshige's true colors were exposed, which caught her somewhat unprepared. Now, she actually wanted to defame herself, which really made her look at him in a new light. Dad, Mom. Hilanjin reached out her hand and pinched herself hard. She limped in. When Tang Jilin and He Wenqing heard her voice, they immediately turned their heads to look over. Something so big happened. Where did you go last night? Chapter 10. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 10. Gay is so magnanimous, and he even offered himself to her. Author. Purple Peony Machine Translation. He Wenqing asked immediately, completely ignoring the fact that she was injured. Last night at the hospital, she saw that she crashed into the news. She didn't expect that her parents' attention was actually on Hiroshige. They didn't even know that she was injured so badly. I almost died in a car accident last night. Hilanjin's voice was choked with sobs. Before she could finish her words, the medical record in her hand fell to the ground. Lu Zifan. He is with Hiroshige. Mom, didn't you see the news? They betrayed me. Ah, Jean. Tang Jilin heard her cry and saw that there was blood oozing out from her serious injury, gauze. Her heart ached as she hugged her and said, "Why are you covered in injuries all over your body?" He Wenqing was a businessman. Everything was for profit. When he saw that Hilanjin was injured, he was so angry that he wanted to give her a few slaps. He asked angrily, "After so many things have happened, you still dare to sell alcohol and self-harm? And you, what exactly are your intentions? Didn't you say that Lanjin misunderstood you and Lu Zifan last night and ran out to fool around with another man in anger? Look at her, does she look like that?" He Wenqing said as he threw the medical record over. Hiroshige was scolded so badly that she forgot to cry. Originally, she had successfully sold her misery and cried to win their sympathy, but she did not expect Hilanjin to actually come back with injuries and ruin her plan, causing her to be scolded. She felt indignant and looked at Hilanjin hatefully. Why was Hilanjin the little princess and she was living under someone else's roof? Why did she have to look at their faces? Why, moreover, at the end of the day, Hilanjin was still the most painful one among the two old fogies of the He family. "Ah, Jean, I thought you had gone to do something stupid. I was worried for the whole night. You misunderstood me and Brother Zifan. There's really nothing between us." Hiroshige immediately burst into tears. She looked at Hilanjin pitifully and explained. "You still lied to me at a time like this. I saw those photos last night. I was going to fulfill your wish, but you said in front of my parents that I was fooling around with a man. Ruoshue, you are really my good sister, He Longjin said in disbelief. You're my best friend, and you're my sister. You and Lu Zifan messed up the toilet in the nightclub. What do the people of Jiang City think of our He family now? He Longjin threw her bag on the ground and stepped forward to slap He Ruoshue down. He Longjin grabbed He Ruoshue's neck, and He Ruoshue's eyes rolled back as she struggled. Sister, you've misunderstood me. I was with my boyfriend last night, not Brother Zifan, He Ruoshue immediately explained when she saw that He Longjin's expression was not right. The two elders of the He family, who were standing at the side, suddenly felt a headache coming on. They immediately stepped forward to stop the sisters. However, He Longjin graduated from a military academy. She was very strong, but her strength was controlled properly. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break it open. Xiaoxue. At this moment, a figure rushed in and pushed He Longjin away. He Longjin took advantage of the situation and fell on the sofa. The blood hidden in her arms spurted out, dyeing her clothes red. Ah Jean, how are you? Tang Jilin saw the situation and immediately let go of the hand that was holding He Ruoshue. She quickly helped He Longjin up and asked with a pained expression. When Father He saw who it was, he was so angry that he kicked her and frowned in disgust. Get out. My He family's territory is not something you can come to. Zhao Yui, why are you only here now? Sister wants to kill me. She wants to kill me. He Ruoshue cried pitifully. Her hair was in a mess as she hid in Zhao Yui's arms. Zhao Yui appeared to help her out. This was what Lu Zifan had agreed with her at the police station. He wanted him to be her temporary boyfriend and help them out of this situation. He wanted to settle the relationship between the Lu and He families and send Zhao Yui away with a sum of money after taking down the He family. The most important thing was that He Longjin usually looked down on Lu Zifan, saying that he had nothing but skin. Last night, she had suspected that everything was He Longjin's scheme. She did not expect that she would be so sad and crazy today, crying so much. It seemed that she had really misunderstood. Miss He, you have misunderstood Xiaoxue. Last night, I was with Xiaoxue, not young Master Lu. It's all my fault for being drunk. If there's anything, come at me. Don't make things difficult for her. Zhao Yui stepped forward after protecting He Ruoshue. He knelt in front of the He family's parents and told them about last night's nightclub in shame. Looking at him protecting He Ruoshue, she was stunned. Could it be that gay people nowadays were so magnanimous? Her man had slept with a woman in front of her, and now he came out to rescue her. Just how good was Lu Zifan in bed that both men and women were willing to wash his name clean? He Longjin suddenly had a bad taste in her heart. If one day He Ruoshue found out that this man and Lu Zifan were a pair of true love, what would she do? P.S. Peony new article, August 24, 2018. There will be a lucky draw, so the article will be released one day in advance. QQ Reader and Hand Q can draw. The prizes are a LCD TV, a QQ Reading mobile phone, Dior lipstick, Snack Big gift pack, custom cup, custom pillow. Vote recommendation tickets, leave a message, tomorrow can draw the lucky draw, moi.